Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the West End Imps show. I am Jake. As always, we're joined by Mr. K. Chris, how are you
Morning.
this fine Sunday morning?
It's beautiful Sunday morning, isn't it? What a difference a week makes.
Literally. For those that aren't aware, I was at the game. Chris wasn't. So Chris will be question master this week. But no, just to get your thoughts on it, Chris. A win, positive performance, 3 goals, a clean sheet. Not won at Accrington since 2009, so that was a nice little record to combat, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I obviously was gutted that I was unable to make a game given the outcome, although that's irrelevant because I try and get to as many away as possible. Got in, I couldn't go, came across really, really positively on the radio. So I'm looking forward to hearing kind of your thoughts having been at the game. I guess starting with the lineup, I was intrigued initially because I think I texted you to say, "Oh, does this look like Monsma might be in the middle and Teddy in the 10?" And it transpired not to be that way, but that was kind of because I've been banging on about Monsma playing as a sort of CDM all season, and I was thinking, "Oh, great, here's proof in the pudding." But yeah, brilliant to see Lewis back in the starting 11. Just a great. It's another signing, isn't it, for us? I think another January signing. And obviously, new boy Erahan coming in alongside Teddy in the middle. So it looked initially in my head, like I say, I thought we were maybe going for a 4-2-3-1 or a variation of, but it was obviously back to the 3 at the back, which I'm a huge fan of. And I think it's when we've played our best. We're incredibly difficult to break down in that formation. So the formation, what did you make of it up there?
It was bizarre because they warmed up with a 4-back. So I think they did that just to throw Accrington off a little bit. When you text me, I did think that we were playing the 4-back with Lewis in midfield. However, it was very evident that when the teams had come out for full time, not full time at the start of the game, that it was the 5 at the back system. I was a little bit surprised to see Sean start at left wing back rather than Harry Boyes, who obviously is a specialised wing back, but I thought Sean was excellent. So we'll come on to that. But no, the formation worked really. It did its job with that formation. We've not had too many games where we've looked like conceding a bucketful, and yesterday was another example where there was no real threat on our goal like it has been in recent weeks. So obviously I think the players that we've brought in and the players that we have in the group means that we can deploy a whole list of formations, and ultimately the 3-back is what we think we're best at, but it could easily have been a 4-back, it could easily have been a 5-back, it could have been easily a 4 with a 3 in front of it, a 4 with a 5 in front of it. So I think tactically I think we're in a very good place at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Harry Boyes, isn't it? Because he's been brought in, played the next day, the day after he'd signed, away at Charlton. Thought he was probably our best player at Charlton, and that's not saying a lot in fairness, and hasn't played since. I think he's come on as a sub. Did he come on as a sub last week, I think, against Cambridge? But seen very little, and he is the specialist left wing back so maybe, I don't know, it's just an interesting one for me. So what were your thoughts? Because it sounded like we started really aggressively, positively on the front foot, and we were going for them.
Yeah, and do you know what it was? It was, and Mark Kennedy speaks about it so often, it's the press from the front, and he speaks about Ben House's tactical nous in and out of possession, and I just thought that really set the tone yesterday. I think it was the first couple of minutes they were playing the ball around the back, and Ben House straight away was there taking the ball off the centre halves like he's done so many times this season. And to be honest, I think we just sort of went hell for leather in the first 5 to 10 minutes. Mide Shadipo played really well on that left-hand side. It benefited Jack, I think, playing on the right-hand side rather than down the left. Those two were far more involved in the game. They were causing Accrington all sorts of problems. Look, Accrington aren't the best team in the division, and they're better tests to come for our offensive line. But we came straight out the blocks pretty quickly, and Accrington, to be honest, struggled to live up with it, because before we even scored, we could have had maybe 2 or 3. I think House had a good opportunity. Teddy Bishop had an opportunity as well, and really fast start, which is something that was good to see after the 2 games previous, the MK and the Cambridge game, where we'd looked like hardly scoring at all. It looked like they wanted to just go and prove a point and get the monkey off the back that they can actually alter the game in the final third. And to be fair to them, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the Diamond Shodipo switch, because we've seen Diamond on the left pretty much. I can't remember when he's played on the right. I mean, they switch occasionally mid-game.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to see that they were playing on opposite flanks than we've perhaps become used to, and you felt that worked.
Oh, massively. I think the ability of Milo to cut in on his right and make those central runs drifting in towards Ben House were really dangerous, and Accrington struggled to live with him. And then from on the right hand side, Jack was completely destroying the left back of Accrington. His pace, his directness, every time the ball went over the top, he was running in behind. And I actually thought that while you've got to give credit to the front front three, those wide players were excellently backed up by their wing backs, who every single time we went forward were on the overlap or an inverted run. So yeah, I think the switch really worked, and I think that's something that we will see going forward, because it really allowed Milo to get into the game, unlike he was at Cambridge. It was a really, really big force for us in that first half, especially.
Yeah, he certainly sounded like that came across on the radio that, excuse me, Shodipo was very much, causing a lot of problems. And I've been quite critical of Jack Diamond over the last sort of few weeks, month or so, and don't feel he's been at his kind of best, and sounds very much like it was a return to him doing what he does best. So talk me through the first goal. Ben House, yet again. I think that's 7 league goals, 8 in total for the season. So that's not bad halfway through a season for someone who probably a year ago we didn't think was a striker.
Yeah. Do you know what? And I think we will eventually get onto it, but I think the role of Ethan Errehon massively caused this goal. I mean, a little bit about him. He was excellent in possession, excellent out of possession. Just allowed Teddy Bishop to play 10 yards further up. I think Mark spoke about it post-match as well. Automatically, we were 10 yards further up the pitch. And like I said, last week we saw Teddy in a deeper role. Didn't massively work next to a Sorensen and Sanders. It didn't massively work, but this week it did. Allowed Teddy to go and affect the game in the final third. And it was a really, really clever pass, I think, from Teddy into Ben House, who steadied himself, and the finish was phenomenal. I mean,
watch the highlights.
Really
yeah, and it was a cracking move and cracking goal.
And the keeper had no chance. And do you know what, Ben House? I think we've said it. If we've not said it on air, we've definitely said it off air. Ben House to finish a 1-on-1, you'd almost ironically stick your house on it. So, and it was a great finish. And do you know what? It was exactly what our early endeavours deserved, because we were all over Accrington at that point in the game, and had we not capitalised and scored a goal, the game could have have gone a completely different way.
Yeah, because there was a couple of opportunities I think they had after we'd scored, but obviously nothing kind of went in for them, thankfully. But the Bishop situation I think's really important, and I think he wasn't fit enough, I don't think, when Virtue was fit, so he never got that opportunity. I think now he's got that foundation of Errehon behind him. Would it be? I mean, I can only infer what I interpreted from the radio commentary, but it sounded like it was possibly Bishop's best game for us.
Yeah, I think that might be fair to say. I think he had a couple of games last year, but he definitely had the protection this time around. And I, like I said, so many people said on socials, I think he won man of the match on the Twitter poll. But Ethan allowed Teddy to go on and be his expressive self, and we all know Teddy Bishop is a far better player when he's in that final third, running at players, taking it past them, and slotting that final ball in. And I just think, and as much as it was Teddy's best game, it just perfectly complemented with Ethan. I think that too going forward would be my first choice. I mean, obviously that's based on yesterday, but no, really good performance from Teddy, and luckily he was able to cap it off with a really good goal in the second half as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was. We'll come on to that. Although we'll probably talk about the decision about the red card as well.
Yeah.
That led to the free kick. But it was Sean Rowan in early in the second half, I think, wasn't it, that hooked home a really nice little finish across the keeper. So yeah, what was it? What did it look like for you? I mean, I'm never a big fan of really watching the highlights.
I couldn't believe it.
See it or feel it as much.
I genuinely couldn't believe it. I think from memory, and I've watched him back from the highlight show because he had Danny Cowley on. It was the ball was worked out on the left hand side. It fell to Regan Paul on the edge of the box. He's took a shot. It's completely ballooned up in the air. But Sean's alert and alive to the situation, and I'm not sure how he's got his body in that position to flick it in, but it looks like he's sort of fallen backwards, flicked it with the outside of his left foot, and it's perfectly just nestled in the corner. And do you know what? For a first league goal, it's not bad, especially for a defender. So, yeah, obviously delighted to see Sean get on the score sheet. Obviously, given my concerns that he was playing at wing back, even though Harry Boyes is the specialised wing back. But no, really good finish from Sean, and to be fair, it topped off a good afternoon for him as well, because defensively and offensively, Sean Rowe was fantastic. You know, even after we scored the third goal, Sean was, and when Vernon come onto the pitch, Sean was equally a bigger threat, just slotting Vernon in time after time. So, yeah, really good finish, and Sean will be delighted, and it sort of puts all the hard work that he's made and the football club have made from getting him over when he was 15, 16, and it all sort of comes to fruition when he scores a really important goal like that. So yeah, really impressed with Sean, and a really good finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like you've acknowledged there that you've got to give props to Sean. He got his first league goal. That's fantastic for him. But also the recruitment of him, getting him in at such a young age, the loans that he's been on, and the fact that a 19-year-old is pretty, I mean, you've got to be looking at him being one of the first few names on the team sheet at the minute, because I don't think he was particularly brilliant against Cambridge, for example, but then who was? So it's hard to pull and kind of, target a specific. It was a team difficulty issue against Cambridge, but it all clicked really beautifully yesterday. Do you feel that it's hard not to get carried away after a performance like that and a victory like that, particularly, Accrington, not the greatest team, but never an easy place to go, as evidenced by, it's been 13 years or whatever since we won. Do you think, and again, trying to sort of temper a little bit of excitement, but the impact of Ereham, the ability that now Bishop has in that midfield, is that what we've missed? Obviously, Monsma coming back as well, I think, makes a massive difference defensively, because he's a ball-playing defender rather than, I think we've got defenders, great defenders. I'm a huge fan of him, but he's not going to ping a beautiful 45, 50-yard pass to someone's feet on the wing. Are those sort of couple of options and additions and tweaks what really made the biggest impact yesterday?
I think so. I think it was again, and I think so many people are going to say it, but the Erehon yesterday was phenomenal. Literally, he might have made a few loose passes, but for the most part, it was the choice of pass, it was the way to pass, it was them recovering to getting into positions when Accrington broke on transition, and I thought that move, that deal has allowed Lincoln to be flexible tactically, and it seemed to have won us the game yesterday. The additions were really good. Even Luke Plans, when he came on, I was really impressed with a few nice touches for him.
Yeah,
and you know what, Meaday as well. I think it was Meaday's best game by an absolute long shot. Should have scored in the first half. Keeper made a really good save, but his endeavour in the second half was massively paid off when, straight from kickoff, he goes and literally picks the pocket of the Accrington defender, and to be fair, if the Accrington defender doesn't take him down, the form that he was in based on that 50 minutes previous, then Meaday was going to score. So just massively impressed with everybody yesterday, and ultimately just glad that we really played really well and scored 3 goals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And third clean sheet on the row in a row, so that's always good as well. So, talked about the Shodipo chance, which came from a Bishop pass in the first half, I believe, when he probably should have scored, and then obviously it was Shodipo that caused the difficulties for the defender leading up to the free kick. Now, I've watched it back a couple of times. For me, it's not a red card. I don't know what it looked like to you guys live.
Yeah, it was for me. Because well, I understand that maybe he's got a defender covering around him, but he has dragged him down and he's prevented a goal scoring opportunity. So the letter of the law would suggest that he's got to send him off. And the referee I literally didn't hesitate, didn't even blink, and got the red card straight away. Which at the time I agreed with it, and I've watched it back a couple of times, and I think it was cynical. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and it was the exact same as the Jacko one a couple of weeks ago. We maybe thought that O'Connell was going to get around. You maybe thought that defender for Accrington was going to get around, but ultimately, I think the ref made the right call.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like I say, for me, it wasn't. I think it was. I think the defender was covering. I'm not complaining, and it led to a really nice finish from Teddy and a lovely little touch to set the free kick for him. But just beautifully finished, a great goal and a deserved goal for Bishop. I think that's going to give him a real boost of confidence, and I feel like he can have that kind of George Grant impact moving forward, or I hope he can. Where he's just, I'm on the ball, I'm taking charge. Here we go.
Yeah, great assist from Jack Diamond. I think Mark was pretty pleased that he's got his assist tally up, because I think he's been more about scoring goals than he has been setting his teammates up. But yeah, really good finish from Teddy Bishop, and the goal that he deserved, really. His overall play was fantastic, and when he was shooting off shortly after his goal, he went off with a standing ovation, and rightly so. Fantastic. I mean, I've watched it back. I don't think it's right in the corner. I think the goalkeeper might have done a bit better. But no, definitely a deserved goal from Teddy to cap off a really good performance. And we're really impressed. And hopefully this is his sort of moment where he can take a bit more ownership around the dressing room. I think he said pre-match that he's like the third or fourth oldest pro that we've got in the building. So giving him that level of responsibility, like we did to George Grant, might sort of end up in the same result as we got with George when we had that playoff season. So fingers crossed that can happen. But the issue with Teddy is keeping him on the pitch. So if we can keep Teddy on the pitch more regularly, and he can perform like that more regularly, then we're going to be looking up rather than down. That's for sure.
Yeah, and not to draw comparisons between the two, because they're very, very different players. But I would imagine that perhaps someone, if there were to be any need to rest Teddy or for him to be out for a game or two, that slightly 10 yards further forward position would suit someone like Max Sanders much better, rather than playing deeper. So that's another great option to consider moving forward. Keith will hate me for saying that. I mean, it felt, listening to it at 2-0 game done, definitely game done at 3-0. I didn't feel there was any way back for Stanley, and it proved. I can't remember them really putting a great deal of pressure on Rushworth or our back line. Monsma had a bit of a nasty collision towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I mean, sending the best wishes to the Stanley player that's come out significantly worse, but thankfully for us, nothing too serious for Lewis. And I don't know, have you got anything else that you want to add in terms of the actual 90 minutes of football?
Obviously when it went to 3-0, I think Mark realised that the game was done and made a few subs. Like I said, Luke Plans came on, showed a couple of nice touches, moved Ben Ailes out onto the right hand side. You could just tell Plans were sort of desperate to get that first goal, but unfortunately didn't quite fall for him. I thought Vernon came on and made a real impact as well on the left-hand side for me day. I think it was maybe 6 or 7 times that Charles broke in behind obviously it helped that Accrington were down to 10 men, but he was constantly getting in behind the fullback. Did really well. Probably could have done better with 1 or 2. He's not put a couple on target, but no, like you said, a really good performance. And then the head injury right at the end, I was a little bit worried about Lewis because you could hear the crack from where we were. Obviously, grateful from a Lincoln City point of view that Lewis got up and all it was a nasty nosebleed, and he said he felt a little bit ill, but he was able to continue, which I think after a year out would have been awful if he'd had to be a couple more weeks out with concussion, especially how well he played. And then obviously the lad from Accrington who came off significantly worse. I echo what you've said, and listening to Mark in his post-match press conference, it's someone who Mark's actually interested in potentially nicking off Accrington if they're to get relegated. He's been really good all season for them, one of their better defenders, and if he's they're 3-0 down and he's gone and put his head on the line like he absolutely did. That just shows you the character of the lad, and I can see why we might be interested. So, no, just obviously really wish. I think his name's Doug Tarm or something, Doug Tane.
Tarm, I think so.
It was really good over the 90 minutes, and to put his head on the line at 3-0 down, really, really impressive. So, fingers crossed he can come out okay, and hopefully he's not out for a prolonged period of time either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, never like to see him get injured. Fantastic. So I think that's probably. I mean, what a lovely experience talking so positively about a really good performance, a really good win, and a great result. I mean, it's felt like a while since we've had that, and proof is in the pudding for me always that we kick on now on Saturday at home, Bristol Rovers. Hopefully, full band. It'll be really good to see Erehun with our home fan base, and hopefully get kind of 8,500, 9,000 in there. Really looking forward to that. But yeah, it's been great to have a positive after what's felt like quite a gloomy couple of months, I think, overall.
Could you give a man of the match, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to just come on to man of the match. So obviously it's difficult when you're not at a game, but just purely because he's back in the team and played 90 minutes, and I fancy him a bit because he's a super specimen of a man. Lewis Monster.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. I think Lewis had a really good game. It literally looked like he'd never been away from the first team environment at all. Obviously, I'm going to give it to Ethan Erehun. I thought he was fantastic. I've said, I think maybe about 25 reasons why I love the bloke already, just in this video. And it was fantastic. And I can imagine if we get to see it, a midfield two of him and Matty Virtue might be something that gets us all a little bit excited. If we can then think about then having a number 10 in front of that, whether that's Mandroy, whether that's Teddy, it could be really, really interesting to see. So for me, Ethan stole the plaudits on his debut. It was fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to those that didn't travel. I'm looking forward for you guys to see him in the flesh for the first time, because he's like a League One Paul Pogba without the attitude, and I really, really like him. So I think we've got a good one here, and I wouldn't be surprised if in 18 months, 2 years, we're turning them around for a great, significant profit. So
which is the detested word model, and I don't want to become a sort of too much brown nosing, but you've got to credit the recruitment team. Yes, criticise them when it goes wrong, absolutely, but equally, and I think a lot of people have, recognised that the work that was put in to get that deal over the line, it wasn't just phone calls and meetings with agents. There was a lot of work put in, so that's a really positive, and I think he could be the jewel in the crown, couldn't he? Like you say, over the next sort of year and a half, he's going to go upwards for a big fee, hopefully, and that then just allows us to continue sort of rejuvenating and revitalising our squad. Yeah,
right. I think that we spoke 25 minutes nearly on a victory, which is nice, rather than speaking about a 0-0 draw. Anything that you want to shout out this week, Chris? Anything that you might want to direct the people to at all?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. No.
What about the blanket thing? I saw you tweeting about.
Oh yeah, I mean that's not anything football related, but yeah, if anyone has any cushions or blankets, Hope Meadows is an equine assisted recovery therapy centre in Highcombe, and I'm going to be running a group there, and they're looking at doing some further groups with different therapeutic interventions. And they've bought a beautiful yurt for one of their fields, which is where some of these group spaces are going to be held. So if anyone has blankets or cushions that they would be happy to donate, then let me know on Twitter and just DM me, and I'll arrange to come and collect stuff. But that would be hugely grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next week for Bristol Rovers, where I think it's time we score 6 goals past them again. So for now, up the Imps.
Up the Imps.